I played New World for 7 hours to see if it's any good. Here's my spoiler-free review. The game opens with a surprisingly robust character creation screen. You can choose from a wide range of skin tones, facial features, eye colors, hairstyles, scars, and even more. The models themselves look crisp and well rendered. While there aren't endless sliders like in some RPGs, there's enough variety to make your character feel personal and distinct. It strikes a nice balance between accessibility and customization. Once your character is ready, you're thrown directly into the story. The opening scenes do a great job of teasing the world's lore and setting up the tone, using cinematic moments and cleverly integrated tutorial sequences. It all leads up to you washing ashore on the mysterious island of Aeternum.
It's steel, demon!
From that point on, you're in a typical MMO world surrounded by other players. The map felt full and alive for all 7 hours that I played, which is a refreshing change from games like World of Warcraft, where you're lucky to see even a single player while leveling. Well, that is if you're playing retail. The starting hub has you doing all of the usual MMO chores. You're killing pirates, you're skinning boars, and then you're cooking their meat. The basics. What initially excited me, however, was that all of the NPCs are voice acted. This seemed like a huge plus, just until it wasn't. Because here's the thing, voice acting can elevate a game's immersion, but only if it's done well. Unfortunately, the dialogue is flat, and most of the voice acting ranges from mediocre to bad. And this wasn't just a one-off, it was consistent across all 7 hours. Every single character is presented as if they're deeply important, but instead of showing you why they matter, the game just keeps telling you that they are important. After 5 hours of forcing myself to sit through the dialogue, I had to give in and start skipping. I really tried to give the story a fair shot, but yeah, see for yourself.
Pitching hay and shoveling manure. It doesn't suit you, Priscilla.
Puts my mind at ease. Clear, complicated work.
And when was the keen swordplay of our most dutiful knight ever complicated?
I only raise my sword now to keep the lost at bay.
Priscilla, you're not making any sense.
I can't even say it. You wouldn't believe me anyway. We were naive to be so hopeful.
I'm not going to list every forgettable character, but the one you just saw really stood out, and not in a good way. Her name is Priscilla, and she plays a surprisingly important role in the first zone. She comes off as sharp, battle-hardened, with a strong presence and a mysterious past. But it's just like, the more the game tries to build her up, the less she actually makes sense. Rather than opening up with giving us a compelling reasons for her actions, she stays frustratingly vague, constantly acting like we're supposed to just get it. Her attitude feels more like a performance than an actual personality, and any emotional weight her story could have just falls completely flat. And I think that's very frustrating, because there's real potential for her to be interesting and maybe even tragic, but instead of fleshing her out, the game just kind of shrugs and hopes you'll care anyway, and spoiler, you probably won't. This observation goes for most of the characters in this zone. It might get better later on in the game, but considering this is the first experience you can have with the game, it really comes off to a bad start. Now, let's talk combat, and here's where things actually get interesting. Unlike most MMOs that use the tap target system, New World features action-based combat. You got light attacks, heavy attacks, blocking and dodging, and combine that with free weapon abilities. It feels a lot closer to Dark Souls than it does to World of Warcraft. In duels, the combat felt immersive, skill-based, tactical, and that's just such a refreshing shift from spamming execute on a low HP target in WoW. Look at the combat yourself. It feels really skill-based, and I am really looking forward to trying PvP in this game. But here's the issue. Outside of PvP, combat becomes boring. Mobs are laughably easy. I never once had to use block or dash to survive. I played as a mage type character with a flamethrower ability, and I basically just melted everything in sight. So in short, the combat system is clearly built for speed and precision, but it never once felt thrilling because the content didn't really demand any tactics or skill.
Sleepless nights. The sword water. Search my face for composure. I cannot see it, but I will not show them my back.
For the quests, it's pretty standard MMO stuff. You go there, you kill that, you collect this. And that's not a bad thing in itself, that's just how MMO works. But if you pair it with how easy the combat is, the whole loop starts to feel a bit shallow and repetitive. And that happens pretty quickly. I mean, I only played for 7 hours and I already feel this way. At the end of the first zone, I was thrown into a solo instance. It's the end of zone boss fight, if you will. It was actually pretty decent, and it was the first time I even came close to dying. And hell, there even was some mechanics. The thing is, most of the damage I took came from unavoidable explosions. I wasn't really being punished for failing mechanics, I was just being punished for existing. And that kind of game design kills the immersion. I'm not sure if this is how all dungeons work during leveling, but I really hope not. Also note, it's a solo dungeon, which brings me to my last point. I had a friend buy the game with me, but once we finished the tutorial, he was nowhere to be found. It turns out that there is 4 different spawn zones, and you are randomly assigned one. This is presumably to prevent overcrowding and smooth out the early experience. This is fine in theory, but what if you want to play with a friend, or even more than one? Is it possible to run across the map to meet up? Would you even have access to the same quests, or are you forced to delete and reroll your character until you randomly land in the same zone? There are of course easy fixes for this. If you're going to have 4 starting zones, why not let each player choose which part to start in? You could even have a recommended option that updates in real time just to balance out the population. And here's the weirdest part. The quests are identical across all of the starting zones, same NPCs, same dialogue, same objectives. Sure, if they're given different quests for different starting zones, they could kind of make sense, but no. All of this, combined with the super easy quests and lack of shared progression, makes grouping feel kind of pointless. In a weird way, New World feels more like a single player game, populated with other people also playing a single player game. It's also worth noting that a lot of people is playing on PlayStation and Xbox, and so of course I wanted to try out the game with a controller to see how the controls feel for those of you guys. And I have to say, the controls felt natural and smooth with a controller, maybe even better than with a keyboard. I personally just prefer a keyboard, but my girlfriend, who is a Vivid controller user, she found the controls to be natural, and even though she is no gamer, she definitely got the hang of it quickly. So only positive things to say there. That being said, I'm gonna keep leveling and post a full review once I hit max level, so subscribe if you want to follow along, and thank you for watching.